what we live in, back and forth through the kitchen.
All right, welcome to the Neutral Zone, courtesy of our good friend Ganutek. Early in season number 2, we rebranded to the TNZ show. Really excited to bring to you season 3, episode 3, with my formidable co-host Stomps, who today has a lot of exciting things to talk about. It's going to be really the Neutral Zone led by Stomps today. But Stomps, first, before we get started, show us your new shirt, your new TNZ shirt. Nice.
Thank you to the great, handsome Bobby D for making these for us. Appreciate it.
Bobby D, we can't thank you enough for making these. A couple of you have already been gifted with these. We were given an exclusive amount of these, limited supply. What we might be doing, and Stomps and I haven't discussed it, is we might be providing some of these and asking for a nominal fee as we want to donate to a charity. So please, in the comments section, if you have any specific charities you're interested in or you want to give us a donation, we still have several available t-shirts for you. We do have a couple that are already committed to some real big fans. The first few that make comments, you never know, you might be on the list to get a t-shirt, so please make some comments. Like I said, you're tuned in to season 3, episode 3 of the Neutral Zone, where today we're going to cover lots of things. There's lots of activity in the Chicago ball hockey world. However, we're going to start off with, the most recent activity, which was or the tournament, which was last week in Iowa, last weekend. And Stomps had the distinct pleasure of making his second appearance at one of these tournaments. And he was able to watch a lot of the games and catch up and get a lot of the highlights. And he knows a lot of the current events. So Stomps, listen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it over to you now to take it away. I know you have a lot of prepared remarks for the millions and millions of viewers out there. So why don't you take it away? I may interject every once in a while and ask you a couple of questions. All right, so it's all yours, buddy.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Iowa tournament, Quad Cities. I don't know how many years they've been doing this, but the whole 3-on-3 game on the smaller rink is, some of us have played it here in Glencoe under the watchful eye of the great John Scully. But it seems to be a game that's Iowa's game, right? It's really big in the state there. Lots of people playing it. So yeah, last year I went to the tournament and I was lucky enough to get back this year. And I really wanted to because, I would just highly recommend it to anyone who's watching that plays in our community. Try to get out there. It's only about a give or take 2-hour and 15-minute drive, so it's not bad at all. Heck, it takes me half that time to get to a game in Glencoe, or more than half that time. So it's really not bad at all. I like to call the tournament the Woodstock of deck hockey, of ball hockey, because you just have all the teams out there. You have 2 rinks. You have some open spaces there. Everybody sets up their tents, their grills. And speaking of that, just like to thank individuals like Tommy Marook and Steve Grass, Brian Ganutek, Stevie J, Eddie Switek, and anybody else who really stepped up to the plate this year with some great grilling, some tremendous food. You would have really enjoyed the pork skewers that Tommy Marook made. Actually, they were outstanding. I know you're not a consumer of that food, but No, seriously, I mean, we had a really good time just hanging out, watching games, playing games. It's just a good vibe. I was talking to Bruner about it, and he said, like, you go to other tournaments, let's say to Philly or wherever, you play the games, then the guys retreat to the hotel or whatever, and sure, we get together and try to do team activities or whatever you might call it. But this is truly, I mean, you're almost always together, and it's cool vibes and a fun time. So what I wanted to do, if you don't mind, because we had a lot of teams from the area out there, really. I was actually kind of taken aback a little bit by how many we had, but if you don't mind, they had levels D1 through D5, and I wanted to start at D5 and kind of work my way down and just talk a little bit about just high level overview of how each of the groups went, who won it, how did our teams do, and probably should mention what would a hockey tournament be without some injuries. Certainly some of our well-known guys came away banged up. I know Anthony Martino, aka the Italian Sniper, he ended up fracturing his ankle, so he missed the playoffs of the tournament, and I think he's out for about 6 weeks or so. Our friend Joe Gleason, there was, I think, one or two of the days there was some very light rain that came down, but the rain, the smallest amount of rain really affects those floors quite a bit. So it was tough for a little while there. I want to say it was on Friday night, I think. And, but the rain didn't last a long time. Floor was getting better. Gentlemen's club team was out there, and I guess Joe went into one of the corners where it was still slick, and he kind of did the splits and maybe tweaked his groin or whatever the case might be. And then you had Shelley got right up here between the upper lip and the nose. I think he got a stick, and the skin was just like hanging there. So apparently Frank glued it to seal it up. Hopefully he used that medical glue and not just some regular crazy glue or whatever, super glue. But so he had it glued up. And then a similar injury to Johnny DeCharia of the Dave Schmeel's Warriors team, got a stick right in this spot here, but between the two nostrils, and it kind of tore his nose. So that was painful, and he was hurting. And there were a lot of guys that were just I like to call the deck floor the cheese grater, because when you go down on that, it marks you up. I mean, Steve Grass literally had marks on his legs you could see the deck outline on his knees, and Dave Kramer had a bunch of marks. So yeah. So anyway, any questions to this point?
No, I just, just two things. Was it a dirty play that happened to Chelly, and was a penalty called because of the infraction?
Well, I didn't see it, so I don't know. I can't answer that. Yeah, there was definitely some rough play in the tournament for sure.
And do you think that he should have got stitches? It sounds like it was bleeding pretty bad.
Well, I mean, when I saw him on Sunday, I mean, it wasn't bleeding. It was sealed up. And, so hopefully, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. He'll have a nice scar. Probably.
And for Anthony Martino, how early in the tournament did he sustain that injury?
Like I said, I want to say it was the third game of pool play, which was the last game before you go into the playoffs. So I believe it was either a second or a third game. So he got some play in for sure. you know, they just went. And again, I didn't see it happen. But yeah.
Okay. Well, we wish him a speedy recovery, and Chelly sounds like he's already on the mend, so that's good. I don't know if he was there this week. I didn't see him on Monday or Wednesday, and hopefully soon. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, so let's work our way through the divisions here. Division 5, D5. So you have the Old Man Strength. Are you familiar with Old Man Strength, Nav?
Is that your team?
Well, I mean, that's, you know, Billy Little's
Okay.
and Julian Barrera. That's really their organization. They were actually two-time defending champions. So they went there with two teams. So long story short, you know, I was kind of up until about a week or so before the tournament, I had no team to play with, you know, tried a few different avenues. It's not the easiest thing because the rosters are limited. Plus you have to fit into a salary cap situation based on your ranking. But Bill Little reached out to me, so thank you to him very much so. And he got me on the second Old Man Strength team, which due to a glitch was ended up named the Millennials.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so, and you know, it was fun. I mean, you know, we had a really eclectic team, I guess you could say. We you know, you had guys that you would know like myself and Julian and Chris Hay. And then we had a couple of 14-year-old boys. We had a girl on the team, a woman, who was really good. Her name was Jordan. We had a couple of guys that had never played hockey before, that kind of hockey before. So, you know, we just went out there and had fun. You know, we didn't get through the playoffs. We only scored 4 goals in the 4 games, so you know, it was a little bit of a struggle, but we had fun. You know, there was a little bit of a bench clearing incident
What
in
happened
the play.
there?
It turns out to be an interesting situation. We were playing a team that they had a woman on the team, and late in the first half, she had a breakaway. And one of the 14-year-olds, it was nothing dirty, believe me. He was trying to stop the breakaway, and I think he tripped her, and he was getting a penalty. So the whistle blows, and everybody's just kind of standing there. And then one of the guys on the team just comes from behind and just levels the kid, just levels him. You know, so we were pretty angry. I mean, for good reason. Well, I come to find out after the game that the person who did this was the son of the woman who was tripped on the breakaway.
Oh, wow.
Not that it makes there's no excuse for what he did. But I guess he was coming
Did
to
he
the
come
aid
off the
of.
bench? Did he come off the bench
No, no.
Okay.
But you know, I talked to them after the game, and we smoothed everything out. I was still pretty perturbed afterwards, but so that was that. You know, the main Old Man Strength team lost in the first round of the playoffs. So, and the winning team in Division 5 was the Mighty Ducks, which I'm pretty certain is a Iowa team. Not 100% sure of that. So that was Division 5. Now it gets interesting as you move through here. Division 4 had the Warriors, which was Dave Schmeel's team.
Mm-hmm.
He
Oh, they
elected
weren't called the Toros?
No, he forego the Toros brand, decided to go with Warriors. He got uniforms that looked like the Warriors. If you've seen the movie in the 1980s, it's a street gang movie called Warriors. The Warriors gang had these outfits that looked like baseball jerseys. So you'll have to see a picture of them to truly appreciate them. But so yeah, you had the Warriors, and it was made up of mainly Toros guys for sure. There was also the Stingrays, the Chicago Stingrays for Division IV had Ryan Canoy was on the team. And it was other guys from, I think from the Stingrays team that played at NBHL. I don't know those guys, but we obviously know Ryan. And then there was the Chicago Knights, which was Martin Landowski's team, with Stevie J and Ganutek and Keith Kreitzer and, a few of the other guys.
Scotty LeClair's on that team as well.
Scotty LeClair and
Sam Ansari.
Sam Ansari, and the goalie was Ray from the Southsiders. And I'm trying to remember everybody else. Tommy Nipcon was on that team. Yeah, so, they had a good team too. So I think the story there was the Warriors went 3-0 in pool play. They were really rolling into the playoffs, and then unfortunately lost in the first round 5-3. And again, it's really interesting because the team they lost to, like, if you're sitting there before, and like I told Dave, when you're sitting there before the game doing the warm-ups and you look across the rink and you see that team, you kind of say to yourself, I think we got this. And then they totally surprise you. They had one guy that scored 4 of their goals. And I don't think any of them were cheapies. He had good hands. He was a good player for D5. One may argue whether he should be a D5. The interesting thing is on the Warriors, Johnny and Jeremy DeCharia and Big Mike.
Yeah.
They combined in the 4 games for 25 points.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
they were on fire.
So did they have a lot of chemistry?
And loyalty.
Yeah.
They seem to.
That's for you, Dave.
But again, it was a lot of the standard Toros guys. You had Steve Grass, Tommy Maruk. They had Terry McMahon, Tony Ross, Big Tony. I'm trying to think who else I might be missing here. But anyway, yeah, they played well, and Dave Kramer was on the team. It just, they chalk it up to being overconfident going into the playoffs and losing that game, and such is life, right? Stingrays also went down. Everybody I think in that group went down in the first round of the playoffs. And so D4 was won by a team by the name of Anarchy, which, again, pretty sure that is an Iowa-based team that won it. Any questions?
Was the cuisine over the weekend primarily grilled food on a barbecue? Or did you guys ever venture out to any of the local Iowa establishments?
There was some venturing out, but not en masse. Groups of people may have gone out here and there. But it was mainly the grilled stuff. We're talking hamburgers, brats, hot dogs, kebabs, some really good stuff. Ganutek made these tremendous grilled onions.
Okay.
He had a huge thing of them.
Did you guys all stay in the same hotel?
No. Some of us were at the Fairfield. Some were at the casino. I want to say Ganutek was at a place at the Baymont Inn or something like that.
Okay.
So people were all over the place. But it's all within, 5-10 minutes of those rinks. Yeah, so D3 had the Chicago Snipers, which was Jacob Barrera's team. I'm really not too familiar with the rest of that team, but they were a young team. You had the Chicago Stingrays. This is the D3 version, featuring guys that you would know, like Sammy Espinoza, Slammin' Sammy, and Josh Kramer, and Bill Little Jr. was on that team. And of course, the Gentlemen's Club was also in that division. I believe the Stingrays, I think, won a playoff game because I know Slam and Sammy had a hat trick in their win. GC lost their playoff game in a shootout. And it's a 3-man shootout.
Mhm.
So 2 guys on GC, I know Frank was one of them. 2 guys on GC scored. All 3 of the shooters on the team they played scored. And that's how they lost in the shootout, 3-2.
That's very uncharacteristic of Billy Jacques.
From what and again, I didn't see it because it was an early Sunday morning game. But somebody told me all 3 of the goals were almost identical. It was like forehand, backhand, under the bar.
Okay.
So I don't know. Be that as it may,
We'll have to get Billy on the show and ask him about that.
Yeah, we can. And but the Chicago Snipers, Jacob's team, went the furthest of all the guys we know. They went to the finals in D3, and they lost to a team called the Top Guns.
Okay, where are they based out of?
I think, from what I heard, they were out of New Jersey. These were young guys, and man, were they fast, and wow, were they skilled. Really good team. Excellent team. So no shame in that. They got to the finals. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so that was the Division 3. So if you go down to Division 2, you may be familiar with, because you've played some at Glencoe.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Bazookas?
Yeah, I am.
And that's the team that Schmiel joined this last session, like towards the end, and they won the championship.
Yeah.
So they were there, the Glencoe Bazookas. You had Team Chicago, which featured guys like Eddie Urban and Jeremy Wargen and Alex Marchikowski. So they had the Southsider contingent. They had Kenny Schmidt, Josh Hamlin. So they had a really good team, of course. So TC lost in the first playoff game. They lost to the District, which is a Washington, D.C. team that I believe we've seen in Palatine at the tournaments through through recent years. So, obviously they were a real good team. I mean, that was a close game. It was like 1-1 for a long time, and then they kind of scored from an angle, and then they had some empty net goals at the end. So that's how TC bowed out. But the Bazookas went all the way against the District to the finals, and they lost 5-4.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so they did well. I mean, the District was a good team, and they won that Division 2. So just to wrap it up and talk about a little bit about Division 1, so you had, if you're familiar with the team, the Pittsburgh Gods, GODZ, they were in town for this, and Eddie Urban and Scotty Wargen played for them.
Okay.
So Eddie did double duty. He was playing, TC and the Gods. Really the team to beat was the Deckheads, which, is Scully's team. Blake plays on that team. Blake played with us on the Bearcats. And
I remember that.
Really good player. I mean, so I didn't get to watch a lot of D1, but Ganutek and I, a few of the guys, we stuck around because the championship was it was like at about 10:45 p.m. on Saturday night. So when they do the Division 1 championship, they really do it up. In other words, they introduce both teams. They bring them onto the floor. They do the Canadian and the USA national anthems.
Which one did they do first?
Canadian.
We are on American soil in the great state of Iowa.
Well, I was trying to think of what version they were playing because there was a guy singing it, so they obviously recorded it from some. I'm sure it was an NHL. I was disappointed that like for the national anthem they didn't use like a Chicago version with Wayne Mesmer or Jim Cornelison or.
Did they give Chicago a lot of love in this tournament, or is there a little bit of a
Well,
rivalry
well,
towards
no,
Chicago players?
that was. I'm glad you asked that question because that's another thing. When you go there, expect to be heckled. There's a lot of heckling going on, and especially as you get into the later games where you're later in the day, people have had consumed a lot of adult beverages, so they're lubed up, and these corn-fed Hawkeyes start giving it to you.
Yeah.
In fact, there was one guy that was really getting out of hand, giving it to GC and Billy Jocks in particular in goal. And I know Frank was pretty teed off in the middle of the game. Things calmed down afterwards, but we kind of surrounded this guy and told him what we thought of what he was doing. So, but I mean, I think you got to go there with, you just got to understand that's part of it. And, try not to have a thin skin, have a thick skin and just have fun with it, really.
Did that guy who was heckling and going overboard with Billy, did he issue a public apology?
He did. I mean, he did. He was throwing him back. So
Sure.
but yeah, no, it was fine. But
would you like to have him on the show?
No.
Okay.
So getting back to so we watched the D1 game, and it's just I can't even describe it to you how fast and skilled these guys are, and how the nets are, right? I mean, you've played Glencoe, it's a smaller net, and the goalies are still as big as anything, and these guys are just picking these corners. I mean, it's pretty amazing. Scully scored a pretty excellent goal, assisted by Blake. It was unfortunate because the Deckheads played the Southwest Cowboys, which is an Ontario team.
Mm-hmm.
And they play 3 periods for the championship. It was 2-2 after the second period, but I could tell the Cowboys goaltender was laboring, and he had been pulled out of a game earlier in the day for an injury. So he was talking to his teammates, and I was kind of watching. So sure enough, we start the third period, first shot on him, boom, goal. And he drops to a knee. So he was done. So there was like a 15-minute delay while they literally took his gear off outside the crease and put it on another guy on the team.
Oh, wow.
So you bring in this other guy off the floor to play goal. They don't get any warm-ups. And what happens? The first 3 shots on him go in as soon as they restarted the game. So that made it 6-2.
Wow, that's a big goal.
Yeah, but then they scored 2 to get back to 6-4, and they got their goaltender out to try and score 2 late ones. They couldn't do it, but these were 2. I mean, both teams were really good. It could have gone either way. I think the goalie injury played a huge part.
If a goalie gets pulled in the tournament for an injury, can they return?
Well,
sounds like in this case they were allowed, but I heard there was a little bit of controversy with Schmiel.
Well, here's the difference. Here's the difference. So you can, if a goalie gets hurt and has to come out, he could be, if you replace him with one of your runners on the roster, then the goalie can come back at any point. The difference with the Warriors team is they specifically rostered Bobby D as a backup goalie. He's not a floor player, a runner. He's a goalie. So once Dave surrenders the net to Bobby, it's Bobby's for the rest of the tournament. You can't bring Dave back. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's the difference.
So that means Bobby had to play the playoff game.
he played the third game of the pool play that they won, and then yes, he played the playoff game.
Okay, okay, and that's a rule. That's a publicized rule, right? It shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone, right?
That's correct, but I know Dave and apparently others have complained about it, so they're kind of petitioning to get that changed for next year. I don't know if they will, but
Are they protesting the game?
no.
Sounds like a really, really interesting and entertaining tournament.
Think about it. D5 had 16 teams.
And how many rinks are there?
2.
Okay, okay.
They're talking about putting a third one in.
And are the rinks like very similar to Glencoe? Like, are they exactly eventually they're exactly the same?
And they're literally side by side. There's actually bleachers and whatnot in between both rinks.
Okay.
But they're right there. They call it the black and the blue rink.
And there's one official?
The big games they use 2 officials. The lower divisions they used 1 official in the game. And you know me at this point, I'm not going to be I'm not going to besmirch officiating, but I will say, like especially like in the D5 and maybe even the D4, they had a young guy that maybe 16 years old who that kid must have made a killing over the weekend. I don't know what they pay for reffing those tournament games, but he reffed close to every game. And, there was just a lot of complaints. You know how it is. I mean,
could you officiate one of those games as an official yourself?
Could I?
Yeah. Like, is your license valid out of state?
Yeah, because they were saying we could have, as officials of the NBHL, we could have gone to the NBHL tournament in September in New Jersey to ref.
Is that all expenses paid?
that was my first question when they asked.
I mean, hopefully they pay you for the travel as well and the hours on the plane. Well, gas prices are not that high anymore.
Great tournament, it really is. And you know what? This Iowa thing, they have a winter tournament.
Oh, wow.
They do it in December, and I think last year.
Outdoor?
Yes, sir. Scott LeClaire and Stevie J. I'm not sure who else went. Sam Ansari, I think, went. So they played in it, and it didn't sound like it was, the greatest experience, but, I can't imagine being out there in December.
I know GC had a lot of the players that we know. I heard Swiatek, Bruner. You mentioned Chelly and Frank. Was Lou on that team?
Lou.
Yeah.
Chris Frederick,
Joe Gleason. Yeah.
Trying to think of who else. Sean Dennison. Yeah, he scored a nice goal on Monday night, the game which you officiated in the 2-2 tie that we had. The Gentlemen's Club versus, I think they were the yellow team. Correct.
I wanted to do a little shout out here with the tournament. I was able to keep updated on what was going on in Iowa. Not only thanks to your text, but Ryan Kanoy actually does a really nice job on that Illinois ball hockey Facebook page. And he was posting a lot I know you're not on Facebook, which is a very good thing. But Ryan Kanoy, he regularly updates that page. And another shout out to Joe Gleason. He did an exclusive shot of Joe Gleason on that Illinois ball hockey page. And I like how he does like those shots of the players and then he allows people to make comments. And good one on Gleason the other day, a nice picture of him, kind of like looked like a true hockey player, and just an amazing guy on and off the ice, a force. So that was really nice of Ryan. Did you have any other updates on the tournament? Because I wanted to talk about a few more things, but we can keep talking about the tournament.
No, I was just gonna reiterate, I think we've seen the last 2 years, we've brought more and more guys out there, and you really have to get yourself organized as early as possible and be ready, because when they opened it up to registration, the whole tournament sold out in 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
So if you don't get your team in, you're gonna get shut out of this thing. So
So what do? You like say you want to get a team in, but you don't have all the players. Do you just register as a GM and pay the deposit?
I don't know if they make you register with a full roster.
Okay.
I can't answer that. I don't know, because but I just know it went quickly.
Well, you were almost locked out of it.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of us didn't go to it because we were very late to the party, like myself and the Gleasons and my son, and then Art. I think there's probably a lot more people that weren't able to be there that wanted to be there. So maybe next year we keep a closer eye on that.
And that tournament runs from Wednesday to Sunday. That's how long it runs, because of all the teams that are in it. So the thing they do that I think is nice of them, the guys that run it, is like our teams from the Chicago area. They'll make sure we don't play until like later in the day on Friday. So we can get up there and play a game or two on Friday, and then on the weekend, they don't make us go out there on Wednesday or Thursday to play.
Okay, that's very good to hear. I had two questions about equipment. I was talking to Terry McMahon yesterday at the rink, and he mentioned to me that there was some protective gear that is required.
Yeah, well, it was very weird. I know that his team, the Warriors, some of the guys, they had shin guards, but like the ref was saying, hey, your skin is still showing. Like, in other words, your knee's not covered up. You have to have, from your knee down your shin covered, the front covered, to allow you to play.
Oh, wow.
So I know some of the guys were, just kind of scrambling a little bit to make sure they had.
You're not allowed to have tape on your stick as well, right?
Possibly,
Yeah.
I did. Yeah, I didn't notice anybody with tape. Now they don't force you to use the Glencoe stick.
That was my next question. And why
You
is
could use
that? And is that going to change at Glencoe? Because
that's a Scully question.
Yeah, but I really want to ask Scully that question. Scully, I know you're a longtime viewer, historical guest on the show. We'd love to have you back and ask you a couple of questions, because there are lots of rumblings around that question around, do you have to buy the stick? Because that's another $120 investment or $100 investment, however it is. And we know the rental sticks there can only last you for maybe 2 shifts before they break. No, man, Stomps, really, really good to hear. Sounds like, if I look at the key learnings on here, it is, if you want to be part of this, get going early. It gets intense as the tournament goes on. There is a little bit of, you got to have a thick skin, like you said. So, a couple of notable guys got injured as well. So and you had some good food. So it sounds like an overall very fulfilling weekend.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I
recommend it to the guys. Absolutely.
I know. You mentioned that. Okay, so I had to ask you a question, if we can switch gears here for a second. Still about hockey. We haven't had a guest on the show in a while. Last time I know we did have Eddie Urban to talk about USA hockey and his experience in Quebec, which was a good one. Thank you to all the viewers who tuned into that. I wanted to ask you what your thoughts were on future guests. I know you've had some recommendations for a few guests, and I wanted you to sort of put it out there. And then I'd like to challenge our viewers out there to put in the comments section any guests they'd like to see on the show. And I'm pretty open, Stomps. Whatever you like, if you have any ideas.
I'm really, I mean, I'm open to anything. We've talked about maybe David Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
I had thoughts about like, some of the Woodridge guys, the guys that play exclusively there, that we don't see anywhere else at Palatine or wherever. And you know how I'm talking about, the likes of Peter and Ryan Matera and Steve Smentek, those kind of guys. Maybe get them on and do a little Woodridge show.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
So those are kind of the ideas I've been throwing around. I mean, I'm open to anybody. I mean, if somebody wants to come on, they should just let us know. I mean, we'd be happy to have you.
Well, Dave Wagner has expressed interest. I know you've been, interested in having him on the show. So we'll try to work out an arrangement with him on the show. Steve Smentek has been making an appearance in Palatine every Wednesday now as a free agent. So he's been out in Palatine. So that's been a good thing. I definitely think we could get some Woodridge guys on here. I wanted to congratulate the Southsiders for the NBHL. They won that, and they're invited to a national tournament now, right?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's like all the other NBHL markets, whoever wins in the various cities get to go into this tournament, NBHL tournament. Yep.
Well, I know I'm not going to get all the names, but that congrats goes to, I guess, obviously Jeremy Wargen, Alice Marskinkowski, Steve Nevin. I think Danielle's on that team as well. Eddie Urban.
Even his brother Isaac, the great Eddie Urban. You've got Ray
Lou,
as the goaltender.
And you got Lou and Eddie Switek on that team as well, right?
You do. I believe Adesh is on that team as well. Alex Quain.
Okay.
And a few other guys who, there's a guy, Nick, I forget his last name. There's a handful of people that I don't have their names committed to memory, but it's the usual crew. It's our Southsiders for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of NBHL and me being honored with a great co-host, I wanted to ask you, what is your future plans of officiating at NBHL games?
TBD.
TBD. Okay. We'll have to dig into that a little bit more on the after program. Okay. Okay. So Elon Musk this week has had two notable tweets. One of them is he claimed, and I guess he was later on joking, that he was going to buy Manchester United. Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, but I think it turned out to be a joke, but he said he was going to buy Manchester United. The other thing is he was with the more of a political thing. He was in Wyoming. He gave his thoughts. He was hosted in Wyoming by Minority House Leader Kevin McCarthy. And he did claim that as of June, that he has officially hitched his wagon to the Republican Party after being an independent voter for a very long time. And this is not a political show, but I just wanted to say that
people are tuning out right now.
Yeah, right. That's too bad. You got to listen. Just try to listen, because we got some interesting things coming up. He has expressed the support for Ron DeSantis, the governor of the great state of Florida. So just to throw that out there, Elon Musk, again, we can't have a show without discussing Elon Musk. And in the past, it was the vaccine. Okay. Speaking of COVID, some hot off the press news about COVID. As you know, we're living in the post-COVID world now, where everything is opened up. I just came back from California, which was an interesting trip. I was there for 7 days. I did the coastal trip. I have to tell you, the state is really having a hard time with the homelessness and you know, all the way from San Francisco all the way to San Diego. It's a really sad state of affairs there. So hopefully they can get that sorted out. But why did I go along that journey to my trip in California? I'll tell you why. Because I did wanted to shout out 3 restaurants in the show. One of them was in California, in San Diego. It's an Indian restaurant called Charminar. So I know we don't have viewers in San Diego, but one of the greatest Indian restaurants I've had on the North American soil. So if anybody's watching here and the owners of Charminar watch, we're plugging your restaurant. The other thing I did want to talk to you, Stomps, about was the Greek islands. That is one heck of a restaurant. I mean, I love the food there. That's in Lombard. That was in Lombard, right?
Correct, yes.
And now you go there, what, 2-3 times a year? Would that be accurate?
Yeah, you know. It's not far. It's close to where my mom lives.
Yeah. Excellent. That was a good one. And then another place, can you tell me the name of that place where I had the best cup of coffee?
Oh,
I think it starts with an M.
an M?
Yeah, doesn't it?
No, I just said it tonight. It's oh gosh, come on. It'll come to me.
It will. And I'll try to find it while we're.
I can't think of it. I don't know why I'm not thinking of it. Here, hold on. I'll find out.
It's not Labriola.
Yeah, Labriola.
Oh, it's Labriola. Okay, all right.
Yeah, we had dessert and the bottomless cup of coffee. It was almost like a soup bowl of coffee that you enjoyed.
Right, and I discovered a new place this evening in the great village of Deerfield. It opened up after Father's Day. It's a dessert place called Scoops and Cookies in Deerfield. So I know some folks live up north. Please check it out. Bruner, I know you're listening. It's an easy one for you to take the kids to. Scoops and Cookies in Deerfield. So
what about your experience in San Diego running into some former professional hockey player?
Yeah, I did run into an American League player. I believe he was drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, and he's going to be a future guest on the show. So speaking of guests, this is him. We met in San Diego on the rooftop pool, and I texted you his name. Do you remember his name, Stomps?
I don't.
Anyways, we'll have him on the show. He owns 6 radio stations, which is quite cool.
Well, what is his name?
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. I know you're very curious about the conversation that him and I had. I forgot his name, but when we have him on the show, we'll definitely make sure we introduce him with the right name. No, but the trip to California was great. I mean, it was a lot of driving, but we enjoyed ourselves. I definitely recommend more of the Monterey, Big Sur area. I would rather stay away from like San Francisco next time and parts of San Diego. Los Angeles is Los Angeles. I don't think it's changed since 1985. But anyways, it was a great trip. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I know we didn't really get into Woodridge. but Woodridge continues to move along nicely, and I think it's going to be a very busy Sunday at Woodridge, weather permitting. How do you
Yes.
see the forecast looking?
We've had such a nice string of weather, and then sure enough, it's going to be raining on the weekend. We'll have to see. I saw a 40% chance of rain Sunday, which is not a lot, but the key is the wee hours, overnight Saturday going into early Sunday morning. We'll see what it's like.
Right. Well, it was a little cool this morning, actually. Then it got pretty hot. It started off pretty cool this morning.
I love fall. I love the transition into fall. It starts getting a lot cooler at night.
Yeah.
It's my favorite time of year by far.
Right.
Oh, I like the next few months.
A couple of people that I just want to recognize before we close out the show, some of the unsung heroes, some of the folks that do the hard work at the rink, of course, the officials who continue to play an important role to keep our hockey going. The Wednesday night league is coming to a close. We almost completed the first session where we had, I believe, 5 protected players, including a goalie. And then every week, what Billy Jacques would do is after the GM submitted their rosters, he would fill out the rest of the squad. Now, I think it's important for me to put out this public service announcement that we're trying to keep that league going on Wednesdays. We don't want to lose the slot to the roller hockey. So for anybody watching, if you are interested and you play, can you please go on the Team Chicago app and mark yourself down as yes for the league? Because I think as of early this week, I think we only had 34 or 35 people registered, not including the GMs. And that's not enough to run a league with 4 teams. So I'm imparting on everybody to sort of, if we want to keep this great league going and keep the camaraderie going amongst all of us, we gotta commit and we gotta keep playing. Otherwise, we're at risk of only having 1 day a week, and 1 day a week might not be enough for all of us.
But aren't they switching Wednesdays though to a true draft league?
I believe Billy Jacques has made that announcement that it's going to be a draft league. And I think that's exciting. I think he's talked to us about a couple of ideas that he has, some innovative ideas he has around draft and trades and balancing. And I think it's really cool what he's trying to do, but we need people, right? We need people. I know, Stomps, for you, it's been a lot to get out there on Wednesdays, but we'd like to see you back there on Wednesdays.
There's shortage of people in every facet of our society, it seems.
Right.
I was reading how there's a shortage of officials, for high school football. So, usually they play the Friday night games and then there's some Saturday games, but it's mostly Friday. They're going to start playing Thursday night games as well because of the official shortage.
Yes,
Really unfortunate.
You know what? There's just shortage in the service industry, shortage in grocery stores, shortage in inventory. But there's one thing that there's no shortage in, that is the neutral zone.
Right.
We're never short here. We're definitely going to keep giving you mountains and mountains of entertainment. We did a shout out to a couple of guys. Steve Smentek, I know I mentioned him. Thanks for coming out to Palatine. We want to see more of you out there. Ryan Canoy, like I mentioned earlier, with the Illinois Ball Hockey League, featuring certain players, which is a good thing. I'd like to put out a challenge, a friendly challenge, to all the guys who watch that participate in Glencoe and all the guys who watch that participate in Woodridge, 2 very established leagues that if you could lend some of your time and come out to Palatine and start supporting that league as well, we'd love to see you out there, and we'll continue to support you because I think it's important that we support all the different leagues to keep them going. Look, I think for the guys who really put their heart and soul into some of these other leagues, come to the other venues, and it's almost like a break for you because you don't have to organize. All you got to do is show up. So if it's in any capacity, part-time player, full-time player, official, coach, just let's get more people out there and build that camaraderie. We are again, special shout out. I know we did this up front to Bobby D for the shirts again. Thank you very much for the shirts. They're beautiful material. I have to also do a shout out to Danielle, who is another future guest because we still haven't spoken to her about her Team USA experience. And she actually was selling the women's ball hockey t-shirts. Those shirts are really smooth. So I don't know if she's still selling them, but I'm going to ask her to, if she is, to open that up because I might want to get another one of those shirts as well. Stomps, everybody here today tuned in to season 3, episode 3 of the Neutral Zone, where you gave a really detailed analysis of the Iowa tournament. As always, you come very well prepared with your remarks, your assessments. It's an honor and a privilege to be your co-host on this show. I appreciate everything you do for society. This is your free time that you're giving. So thank you very much to all the viewers.
'Cause I got a lot going on.
Yeah. So if I might remind everybody who tuned in, please comment, like, subscribe. But for the first 10 that make a comment that's worth the weight of their keystrokes, you could maybe get a surprise Neutral Zone t-shirt at the next time we see you. Stomps and I are going to be carrying those in our vehicles. So anyways, thank you very much, everyone. Stomps, thanks. Any last minute words, Stomps, before we close out?
No, sir. Hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you. You tuned in to season 3, episode 3 of the Neutral Zone. Have a great night.